black people hurt black people more than anyone else hurts black people.
Okay.
My question to you is why?
This is just a stupid question.
Money was stolen from black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me explain.
I honestly just can't, like, y'all, I just can't even believe what we've come to.
FHA, okay, they both work together.
No, they did not work together. They were different.
No, they were different, but they worked together.
Guys, you have to pause. You've been voted out. Thank you.
Of course you've been voted out.
Well,
Okay, so black people hurt black people more than anyone else hurts black people.
okay.
My question to you is why?
Well, that's a really good question. I think that it stimulates from a few different facets, and I think a lot of them are responsible, but for the most part, by black people. When you are not raised in a loving household and you're not protected, you don't have a father in the household, those things lead to devastating outcomes. Young men doing things.
I'm gonna just start this by saying this is just a stupid question. It's a stupid question. The premise behind this question is downright stupid. And the reason I say it's stupid is because every race basically hurts their race the most. So it's a disingenuous question to begin with. The problem with the black community is that we do gruesome, gang level, insane amounts of ghetto crime to each other. That's the problem. Like, we have a culture behind black crime. That's the problem. So when you say, oh, black people hurt black people the most, like, why? She's probably gonna be like, oh, proximity, we're just happen to be close together. No, that's not the issue. The issue is that we have a culture of crime. We have artists who specialize, literally specialize in rapping about crime. And I'm talking about big artists. That's why we have degeneracy bred into our culture. And when you ask this question, you pretend like that's not true when it is true. And if we never acknowledge it, we never gonna fix it. But I'm not gonna put words into her mouth yet. Let's not waste no more time. Get into this little debate. Let's go.
Things they're not supposed to do, like we see in modern society, these young YNs, all of these things are contributing factors to decisions that we make.
Okay, cool. So what you're describing is a byproduct of poverty, right? And what we know under a capitalist system is that poverty compounds over time in history as well as wealth. And what has happened systematically as well as systemically in this system is that black people have been pushed away from wealth-creating mechanisms. This has happened for generations, even past slavery. Even if we were to argue that after slavery, nothing else happened. There was no Jim Crow laws, there was no redlining, there was no unequal implementation of the GI Bill. We would still see that, like, our country has lived under the disenfranchisement of black people longer than it has been free. So my question is, what do you think accounts for, like, the $4 to $16 trillion that was stolen from black people through slavery? Like, where is that equalizing mechanism?
I don't believe that you can say that money was stolen from black people during slavery.
Oh, but
let me explain. Because money wasn't stolen.
I honestly just can't, like, y'all, I just can't even believe what we've come to. I can't believe what we've come to, bro. Like, I've heard a lot of excuses in my time. I've heard a lot of excuses for defending any type of group. But the excuse of the reason why black people hurt other black people is because money was stolen from us during slavery? This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This is just downright foolish. Downright foolish, bro. Downright foolish. And I don't want to, like, keep pausing the video, but come on, this is stupid. We will never get ahead, bro. We're never going to get ahead. We're never going to get ahead. We're never going to get ahead. Because you're having these YNs toting freaking illegal weapons down the street. They're 14, 50-year-olds toting illegal weapons. They don't even know about American history. They're not even in school. So they don't even know this stuff happened. Toting these guns, walking in gangs, listening to, ironically, they're listening to rich gangsters. You think NBA Youngboy is broke? He's rich. He's still a gangster. He don't care. But they're doing these things 13, 14. And when they get arrested, when they harm your little brother, your sibling, your cousin, you're really going to pretend like you're going to go to that courthouse or that funeral home and be like, you know what? They only did this because of the money they stole from me during slavery. What are you talking about?
Opportunities were not there because black people were slaves. It's not a fair comparison.
So imagine this. You got 200 people on a plantation, and they're making you millions and millions of dollars, right, a year. through their labor, right? So what happens is there's no money to steal because black people weren't granted the humanity
Well, you're
to
saying
be compensated
black
for the value
people,
that they created.
well, let's look at it like this. This is an environment and a dispensation of time where slavery was a fact and a reality around the world.
And we live under capitalism, right?
Let me explain. So it's not like it was somehow uniquely.
Oh, it was very unique to the West.
It's not uniquely in the United States of America.
Chattel slavery?
Majority of the slaves
Do you want to
were in
compare
South
chattel
America.
slavery?
Let me just give you an
to-
example. Majority of the slaves were in South America. You do agree to that. About 400,000 black people
Do we
were
want to
made
focus on
slaves
America,
over
though?
time.
Why are we pivoting the conversation? My
We're
question
not pivoting
was
anything. You jumping around.
No.
Let's stick to
I had a
something where
question.
we
Do you
can
remember
have
the question I asked you around 2 minutes ago? I asked you this.
I feel like you want to be confrontational more than you want to get to the bottom of a conversation. You're saying
it's unfortunate that that's the way that you feel about how I'm trying to approach a question.
We need to stick to a
What's
point.
the
Are you
equalizing
saying
mechanism? $4 to $16 trillion, right, was the revenue that was created through the unpaid labor that came from chattel slavery.
The problem with this discussion, and I've said this in past videos, but I got to put on my intellectual hat for some strange reason and explain to black people, and I'm black too, obviously, but explain to more black people why we are not getting ahead. The reason we're not getting ahead is because of her logic. Her logic is foolish, and her logic is never ending. What I mean by that is, even if Officer Tatum concedes to her point and says, you know what, you're right, slavery hurt us, because the initial question was black people hurt black people more than any other group. She brought up slavery because that's the underlying grace. Even if he concedes to her point, like, yeah, you know what, slavery hurt us. What does this have to do with black people hurting black people? Like, what can we do for black people hurting black people today? She's not going to have an answer. She's not going to have an answer. Because if he says, you know what, slavery did hurt us. It hurt us. It hurt us so bad. How could we use this knowledge to help our community right now in 2026? Let us know. Lead us. Lead us out of poverty. Lead us out of struggle. Lead us out of harming each other. Lead us out of gun violence. Lead us. What do we do, ultimate black leader? She's going to be like, well, they should give us $15 trillion of reparations. You'll be like, but that's not possible. How do we do that? She's going to be like, well, slavery hurt us. It's just, y'all get what I'm saying? It doesn't end. There's no answer. There's no answer. There's no logic behind this. There's no logic. And white people, or not even white, people look at this and they're like, yeah, like, really, what does this have to do with today's harm? How do we even talk about today's harm if you always, no matter what, go to the past?
My opinion, you cannot judge slavery and act as if black people even had a fair chance in the first place.
That's what I'm talking about here.
Let me explain. We need to talk in terms of after slavery was abolished, what opportunities were presented to black people.
If we do that, we cut out around 2/3 of the story, right? So what I told you before, right? We live under capitalism, and if we live under capitalism, what we know is a couple things. Wealth comes from capital, and capital compounds, right, value. So what happens is property taxes.
Are you trying to say that inevitably black people will never have an opportunity to be successful in America? Is that what you're saying?
I'm explaining something really, really crucial here that will help you
answer that? Because I think we'll be on the same
platform. You can't interrupt me when we're not having the same conversation.
I'm trying to get to a point where we can have a real discussion.
If it is the case that property taxes, right, fund our school systems, build them up, okay, and we see redlining literally labeled neighborhoods where.
Bro, I swear, y'all, I swear, I'm trying to give her grace, but it's just so ignorant. It's so ignorant. For one, even if you bring up property taxes and redlining, black communities today were not black communities 100 years ago. A lot of places in Maryland were white at one time, and then they turned black after redlining. So after these policies, these communities turned black. What am I saying? Migration happens. White communities that were white in 1920 and 1850 are not white in 2026. Vice versa, black communities that were black in 1920, 1850 are not black in 2026. People move. We also have entire new races in the United States. We have Asian communities. We have Latino communities now. These communities did not exist during that time period at all. What am I saying? What is LFR saying? I'm saying that there's entirely new demographics geographically in the United States. The nation is not the same. So when you bring up these things, it confuses me. Also, you talk about capitalism. Majority of wealth is not evenly distributed. What does that mean, LFR? That means the majority of white people, the majority of black people, the majority of Hispanic people are normal people. That is capitalism 101, especially in a capitalist society. Majority of the wealth is not an even distribution. If that's the case, this wouldn't even be capitalism. It would be socialism. So when you say, oh, you know, they've had hundreds of years to gain wealth, the majority of white people literally did not get that wealth because capitalism doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. The majority just don't get it. So majority of people in America don't have money. The majority of white people too. So it's annoying me that she's having this discussion because she's downright wrong. Not like I disagree with her opinion. No, she's just flat out wrong about how systems work.
Black people were living as full of inharmonious racial groups to the point where they couldn't get the mortgage, right? This was 60 years ago? Grandparents, parents, right, who experienced that inability to have a home. 2/3 of the middle class gets their generational wealth from properties. Where's this equalizing mechanism? Why do you expect there to be a similar playing field?
Okay, I think we're going to go in circles if we go back in time. What mechanism?
Oh, we got to.
I'm saying that we're going to get to a standstill. What mechanisms are in place today that prevent you from having the same financial success as anybody else in this country?
Does inheritance exist under capitalism?
I'm asking you to answer this question.
Because I've asked two questions now that were ignored.
What mechanism in place currently prevents you from being financially successful as anybody else in this country?
The continuity of private property, right? So I'm answering the question.
Are you not allowed to own property?
That's not the question here. It's who had access to property.
No, we know. Let's put it this way, because we're going to get into an argument in circles.
I don't think it's going in circles. I think you're not answering the question.
Here's the thing that we can agree on.
I asked two questions.
Let me say, this is the thing that we can agree on. We can agree that there was discrimination in this country. We can agree that there's some elements of...
Do you agree that inheritance exists?
We can agree that there's elements of things that happen in this country that put black people behind. We can agree to that.
Okay.
But what I'm telling you is that we cannot still live...
We're not living in the past.
60 years ago,
we're living in the future.
And act as if we don't have an opportunity today.
Here, let me.
We could break down redlining. We can go through the process of all these different things.
Let me address it.
Because I don't think that we're.
And guys, keep in mind, the thing that they're supposed to be debating is the topic: black people hurt black people more than any other group. Keep in mind what we've talked about in the past 13 minutes. We've talked about redlining. We've talked about slavery, and we've talked about an inheritance. And here's the thing. The majority, and here's what kills me about this discussion. Because the majority of people, because we're talking about, white people and black people again, they don't even benefit from any of this. They objectively don't. Majority of white people have no inheritance. They have no money. They're normal. They live very, very normal lives. They aren't policymakers. They aren't politicians. They just exist. A lot of them live near black people. A lot of them don't live. It's both. A lot of them don't live near black people, so they can't redline you. And a lot of them do live near black people, and they live in the same communities that are redlined. So I'm just confused. We haven't even talked about the initial point. We talked about things that the majority of white people cannot and literally do not benefit from or control. So it just kills me like we're at this point and we haven't even addressed the main point yet.
Saying that black people are not currently able to have financial success in this country just like white people.
I'm saying that we're comparing a tortoise to a hare right now. So
I don't think that's true.
I think it's
are you alluding
true.
to the fact? Let's talk about redlining real quick, because I think that it's been disproportionately represented. When you talk about redlining, do you know, and I think it's good for the crowd to understand this, that in the red line districts, 92% of all the people who live in the red line districts were white. Are you aware of that?
Where is this source coming from? Redlining specifically labeled...
Do you not know this as a fact?
Okay, how about this? The underwritings of the HOLC specifically said that black groups, right, were seen as inharmonious groups that we should be very wary. No. Let's look it up. The fact check will be somewhere here or here for you.
FHA.
Right? It said
that's what the
inharmonious
FHA,
groups.
That's
black
what the
people were titled
determined.
as FHA. Okay, they both work together.
No, they did not work together. They were different.
No, they were different, but they worked together.
Guys, you do have to pause. You've been voted out. Thank you.
Of course, she's been voted out. Like it. What do you? Of course you've been voted out. We didn't even talk about the main point. Because here's the thing. You can't talk about the main point. You cannot, in good faith, if you're being honest, you cannot honestly sit here and say black people harming black people is white people's problem. You can't say it. In order for you to genuinely have this discussion, you have to point blame inward. And when I say this, I'm not trying to attack the black community. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just being honest, and she's being delusional. If you look at any community, any group of people, any group, and you look at that community's problems, you naturally say, okay, you caused your problems. If you look at your favorite basketball team, I'm a Wizards fan, and they're trash. But I'm a Wizards fan. The reason the Wizards are trash is not because Golden State Warriors kept winning championships. It's because the Wizards are just trash. They just didn't have good planning. I don't know. They didn't care. But if you looked at a Wizards or an NBA team or NFL team and say, yeah, my team is trash because this other team keeps winning, people will literally look at you like you are like smoking something.
You're back.
I am. So I do want to isolate this cause, you think, of black disenfranchisement just over the course of history, because the thing I keep hearing you say is culture, right? But in psychology, we have this debate between nature and nurture, all right?
Okay.
Every decision, the patterns that come from different populations can be caused by either one of two things. It's like your material conditions, okay, this is the culture you're talking about. This is like attitudes, okay, and behavioral patterns. Or it's like genetically, in some way, you are different from other populations. Like you naturally have less of an inclination towards success. So for black people, I have to ask you, which one is it?
No, I definitely don't think black people have a less inclination towards success because of some DNA makeup.
Perfect.
Black people do have a DNA, I guess, expression that makes them a lot more proficient in sports. I mean, that's an advantage. But when you're talking about, like, so your point is very.
I don't even know. I'm gonna be honest, y'all. I don't even know where she's going with this point, so I'm not gonna say too much. I'm actually pretty curious because it seems like she's getting to like eugenics. Like now, this is like white nationalist racism. You're gonna say black people have a genetic disadvantage when it comes to not being good in society. Is that what you're saying? Because at that point, you went so far left. You're on like you're like I don't know what you became. Like you just became a racist. But okay, let's get into it.
Broad. Systemic racism, does it affect you today, and does it affect your life moving forward? I do not believe so.
If you believe that nurture, right, is the cause, right, of black people acting differently, it's not something biological here. You have to ask, okay, when it comes to culture.
It can be in part biological.
Biologically,
generational trauma could be biological.
But that comes from, like, again, social standards, okay, issues that are replicated from the material conditions. When I say material conditions, I'm talking about what is around you, what is the infrastructure of your life, okay, what systems are you born into, okay? So if we can recognize that right, is where the cause is lying, my question to you is gonna be, again, where has this equalizer been, right, in the whole status quo between white folks and black folks?
Let's put it this way. I'm hoping that we can get to a conclusion of understanding, because you keep saying black people as if we uniquely are the only people who are dealing with certain issues in poverty. White poor people experience a lot of similar things as black people.
But not segregation and not redlining.
It's not.
Right?
But hold on.
But here's the problem, and it goes back to what this entire conversation's about. Remember why we're having this conversation. I want y'all to remember why is this video online in 2026? The reason this video's online in 2026 is because black communities are still dealing with issues. That is why this video is being posted. Because today, black issues have not been solved. So when you have a young black person in 2026 say, you know, the reason we have like systemic issues is because of redlining and segregation, and she says the reason we have that is because of, redlining and segregation, but you have never experienced redlining and segregation, this points to a statistical anomaly. Because now you're saying something that you've never experienced caused an issue. But the issue still exists, but the thing that you said caused the issue doesn't exist. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Like if you have a cold, usually it's because of some virus or some bacteria that's in your body. If that virus or bacteria is gone, the cold is gone. But if you still have a cold, but that virus and bacteria is not in your body, that means that specific virus and bacteria did not cause your cold. What I'm saying is, to slow it down, is that if we are still experiencing issues, but the causes of the issues do no longer exist or disproportionately affect us specifically, then those things are not causing the issues. That's a reasonable conclusion. But we can never say that, because if you say it, you're a coon. If you don't agree with what everyone else is saying, you're delusional, you don't know what you're talking about, you're anti-black. When in reality, you're just looking at the facts. And I shouldn't have to say this, but here we are again, saying common sense.
Redlining, when I just told you when you look at the historicity of redlining, majority of the people who were in the red line district were white.
I can't wait for the fact check for this one.
92.
Let's read the fact check. Redlining and related discriminatory housing practices harm black communities most systemically, but some Jewish, immigrant, and other ethnic neighborhoods were also downgraded by federal appraisers and local real estate professionals who describe certain populations as inharmonious, undesirable, or an infiltration. So, yeah, other communities were affected. The immigrant and Jewish communities and other ethnic neighborhoods were also affected. So you should reasonably conclude that they should also be today facing the same issues, but they're not. That's the statistical difference. Other communities they have to climb out by themselves. They are expected to overcome these issues. They are expected to not complain about them. But the black community, we have a built-in excuse to, no matter where we fail, we can always blame systemic racism. And that's why we're not getting ahead. Because what she's doing, she thinks she's helping our community. But when a young black boy or a young black girl hears this video, they're not going to say, maybe I am in charge of my own life. Maybe I did cause my own issues. Or maybe my parent did. Maybe I can get out of my situation. They're going to hear, you know what? Maybe white people did cause my issues. Let me go protest. They're not going to hear, let me go to school. No, they're going to hear, let me go blame white people. How is that beneficial to anybody, any kid, and any adult?
I'm going to be so
I'm gonna tell you right now. Okay?
No, black
92. Listen to me.
race
Let me
was
explain
explicitly
it.
a factor.
No, it was not explicitly a factor.
Oh, it was, and I can't wait for the fact check to show
all
that
right,
part too.
I hope they do. When you're talking about the creation of the red line from the HOLC Corporation, it's a lot of things in my mind. When you look at the delineation line, when they drew the red line, that was after discrimination had already existed.
And what did the red lines do?
Who's
being boxed?
Bro, here we go. I'm just getting annoyed with this conversation. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm getting annoyed because we haven't even... And y'all, I've watched a big portion of this clip. We haven't even talked about the main issues. And it really pisses me off because I really do want the best for the black community. But it's like... If these people are leading the community, we're doomed, bro. We're doomed. We're doomed. We're doomed. Because if you're really trying to get out of poverty, and y'all know this is black, white, Asian, it don't matter what you are, what race or gender you are. Y'all know how hard it is to build a life for yourself. You know how hard it is. And it's not hard because somebody's holding you back. It's hard because it's hard. It's hard because you have to work hard. You have to wake up and do stuff you don't want to do every day. You have to work hard. You have to get some level of education, some level of job, some level of something. And you weren't taught how to do that. When you got kids, you weren't taught how to raise. You had to grind. And you had to make sure that you were in charge of your own life. And that's just a fact. This is not about race. This is a fact. So when I hear this conversation and you're telling one of the communities that makes the least amount of money in America that it's a white man's fault, how does this help this community? It doesn't, bro. You're teaching them to be losers. You're teaching black people to be losers when you have this conversation. I'm going to just be honest. Let me know what y'all think in the comments below. I'm done with this video. I don't want to watch the rest. It's just annoying me. But if you have any suggestions, comment down below and I'll see you in the next one.